And we're live, everybody. Welcome in. It is Wednesday, January 10th, 11:30 a.m. Central, a little bit earlier than usual today. That's because I want to bring forward some news from Tesla. They have released a brand new Tesla Model 3 version for the U.S. market. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started right away. Here's the new Model 3. Now, for those that follow the company closely, you probably recognize this as what's called the quote-unquote Highland. This model was released in Asia and Europe late last year, and now this model is making its way over to the U.S. market. From the outside, you can probably see some of the design cue sort of differences here. You have new taillights, you have new headlights, you have some, tucked in lines for the car, making it a little bit more sporty, making it a little bit more luxurious. But now this vehicle is available for the U.S. market, and there's a lot of interesting things about this, not just from a feature perspective, but from a price perspective that's creating some interesting dynamics in the U.S. market. If I go down the website a little bit, that's what it looks like. From the outside, it just looks a little bit sportier to me. Again, it's basically the same exact look as the Model 3 that was released in Europe and Asia late last year. They're coming out with two new colors, with a new gray and red color for the car in the U.S. market. The interior has the same look as the ones from the European and Asian markets after the refresh. So that LED light that goes across the dash is a new addition to the US market, new steering wheel, just a bunch of different changes from an internal perspective of the car. It's going to be, Tesla says it's going to be more luxurious, quieter. And if this is the same exact model as the ones in Europe and Asia, a lot of reviews have been out for those already. And all reviewers are saying that this is quite a step up from a luxury perspective. Touch, feel, ride quality, noise cancellation, rattles, all that stuff has been cleaned up quite a bit in this model. So I just wanted to show you a few pictures on what this looks like. There's a dog, a cute little doggo chilling. Now, what I really want to hone in for this model, outside of all the different sort of features that it has, is that in the United States, there's a new dynamic when it comes to the pricing of Teslas. If you're not familiar, the U.S. tax credit, EV tax credit in 2024 has changed to be a little bit more strict and is now being given at the point of sale. So when you purchase an electric vehicle, some manufacturers can give you up to $7,500 credit based on income requirements up front. And there's another loophole when it comes to the lease that kind of bypasses that, which actually applies to this car as well. So if we look at the federal website for the U.S. tax credit here, the EV tax credit, we can see that there is 5 different Tesla models available that can take advantage of the credit. We have the Model 3 Performance, the Model X Long Range, the Model Y All-Wheel Drive, the Model Y Performance, and the Model Y Rear-Wheel Drive. Now, what's very interesting about this list is that if we go to Tesla's website and we try to purchase a car, you'll see that those models, that Model 3 Performance model doesn't exist. It's not available for purchase. So if I go purchase price, you can see that there's only a rear-wheel drive and a dual-motor all-wheel drive version for this car. So as it stands right now, before I break my freaking computer here, this vehicle cannot take advantage of an EV tax credit if you do purchase it from Tesla. Now, the lease is different. If you want to purchase the car, it's $38,990 for the rear-wheel drive variant, 272 miles of range, 5.0 to 60, 125 mile top speed. For the long range, it's $45,990 for the dual motor drive, 341 miles of range, 125 miles, 4.20 to 60. The rear-wheel drive has about the same range as the previous version. The all-wheel drive has a little bit more range, about 8 or 9 more miles of range than the previous version, but it's the same exact price as the previous versions, but you get a lot more luxury. You get a rear screen on the back seat, better noise cancellation, upgraded trim, all that stuff. So it's clear that the idea here is that Tesla's trying to give you more bang for your buck. But because the EV tax credit is not available for any of the trims for the Model 3 right now in the United States, you have this weird thing that's happening as far as Tesla's lineup goes, and what's most affordable and what isn't. So if we just look at purchase price straight up, if you just say, hey, I want to buy a Tesla tomorrow or today, what's interesting is because the Model Y is able to take advantage of the EV tax credit, the Model Y rear-wheel drive, which is their SUV, if I go ahead and bring it up on their website just so you can see what it looks like in case you're not familiar with the product, This is the Model Y. It's basically what the old Model 3 used to look like, but in an SUV form factor. And this one comes in 3 variants and comes in the rear-wheel drive and a dual motor all-wheel drive and performance. But again, these cars can take advantage of the EV tax credit. Because of that, the Model Y rear-wheel drive, which has a 260 miles of range, 6.60 to 60 rear-wheel drive, it starts at $44,043.9. But because it can take advantage of the EV tax credit at time of purchase when you buy the car, the net price of this vehicle is $36,490, which is less than the Tesla Model 3 standard range rear-wheel drive, that new car we just looked at, with 272 miles of range, 5.80 to 60. And because it doesn't get the EV tax credit, the net price is $38,990. So what that means is that the Model Y rear-wheel drive is cheaper. It's about $2,000 cheaper than the standard range rear-wheel drive. Now, you do get, again, the thought process with this model for Tesla seems like they want to upgrade the luxury, upgrade the interior, make it more fancy, ride a little bit better. So perhaps as it stands today, Tesla thinks they can justify that price difference through the feature set in this new car. And of course, with a sedan, you're going to have tighter handling, a little bit less body roll because you have a sort of lower to the ground car. So maybe that's the thought process there. But I have my own thoughts when it comes to that. Now, because the Model 3 performance has been nixed right now, I'm guessing this will probably come back in the next few months. They're probably fine-tuning the car. If they're going to make a performance-oriented Model 3, this is the time to do it because of all the different upgrades they've made to the car. I'm going to guess it's going to be a standalone product. But right now, this car, the Model 3 Performance all-wheel drive, doesn't exist anymore. And if we look at the Model 3 long range, which again starts at $45,990, again, because it doesn't take advantage of the EV tax credit, the Model Y Performance is now cheaper after the tax credit than the Model 3 long range all-wheel drive if you were to purchase it, okay? So then basically what's happening now is the Model Y, in a lot of instances, like to like, is cheaper to purchase than a Model 3. However, what's interesting about the EV tax credit is that there's different rules for when you buy the car versus leasing the car. If you buy the car, the EV tax credit applies to the customer. If you lease the car, there's basically a loophole of sorts where the manufacturer can still claim the credit and give you the savings when you lease the car from the manufacturer. And the Model 3 can take advantage of this quote-unquote loophole, and as well as other manufacturers, which means then that the Model 3, the lease is starting at $329, which includes that EV tax credit when you lease it. If I compare it just very simply to the Model Y, so this is Model 3, lease starting at $329. If I go to Model Y and I look at the lease here, the lease starts at $399. So you can see right there that Model 3 can take advantage of the EV tax credit at time of lease versus the Model Y, but when you buy the car, you can't. Weird. Very weird rules. So what I expect to happen with this model is I do think that Tesla is aiming to differentiate the Model 3 and the Model Y and its upcoming compact car that's likely to launch in the next year or two in the US market. I think it's becoming clear that the Model 3 is going to be a more luxurious product. They're going to try to make it so that folks that are really care about comfort, creature comforts, quality, that they're really upping their game there, and while making it quite affordable. You know, if you really think about it, you can buy that type of vehicle for $329 or lease it for $329 a month. That seems to be extremely competitive against other cars. And then what they'll likely do is they'll come out with a performance model later this year that's going to basically use the same exact body, same exact trim that's inside the car, but they're going to make it so that it's sort of this track monster of sorts, especially with some of the new technology they're working on from a drivetrain and battery perspective. And then at some point this year, I also expect Tesla to change their process, their battery process, sort of where they're sourcing the battery from and the kind of materials they're using to be able to take advantage of the EV tax credit when people want to buy it, instead of just being able to take advantage of it when you lease it. So what that means is that you'll be able to knock down the purchase price of the car by another $7,500. But that's going to require them to redo a lot of the battery sourcing. The main reason why they can't take advantage of this right now is because those batteries aren't made in the United States. They're being imported from China, which is what a lot of auto manufacturers do specifically for the Model 3. And that's because they were doing that before also with the previous Model 3 before they came out with the refresh. But I know that the company is working on a lot of different steps to ensure that they can bring everything within the sort of the U.S. borders, North American borders, so they can create batteries for something like the Model 3 and take advantage of the EV tax credit. So we'll see how quickly that happens. I fully expect them to do that. This pricing chart here, I don't expect this to last very long, but it's pretty crazy. You can buy a Model Y right now with the EV tax credit cheaper than a Model 3, but it really depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for SUV or sedan, obviously it's different. If you're interested, just throwing it out there, I own a Model Y, and people that own Teslas have a referral credit. If you're interested, I have a link for that in the description below. You don't have to use it, obviously. Do whatever you like. And I hope this video was informative and helpful. Other ways to support the channel in the description below as well. Like and subscribe, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.